On the western edge of Michigan's Upper Peninsula, adjacent to the Wisconsin state line, a forest of towering white pine and eastern hemlock, fragrant balsam fir, and sprawling sugar maple and paper birch trees rises tall and stately from a thick carpet of leaves and needles. Black bears, moose, and even timber wolves haunt the shores of more than 30 lakes that lie nestled in the thick woods. Bald eagles shriek from snags, loons sing their mournful melodies on crystal-clear waters, and otters scamper up and down rocky banks. It's as wild a landscape as one can find in the continental states. This ancient forest is part of the Sylvania Wilderness Area, a roughly 20,000-acre parcel of land managed by the Ottawa National Forest, which itself covers just under 1 million acres of Michigan's Upper Peninsula. To the casual observer exploring the Ottawa's lakes, rivers, and forests, the trees of Sylvania might not look that different from any others within the forest's boundaries. But other stands are largely second or even third-growth forests and barely 100 years old. The trees in Sylvania are much, much older, and that makes them rare in this part of the world. Michigan's vast forests once provided an almost incomprehensible amount of lumber to domestic and international markets. In 1869, Michigan alone produced 1.7 billion board feet of white pine, nearly 30% of the country's entire production that year. Board feet is a measurement of volume, and equals a piece of lumber 12 by 12 by 1 inches. 10 years later, that output doubled to more than 3 billion board feet and roughly 50% of the nation's production. But Michigan's forests were not inexhaustible. In 1904, the state only produced 1 billion board feet, and by 1931 it produced a scant 67,000 board feet of lumber, an amount that barely registered in the national total. As private lumber interests ravaged Michigan's forests, they pocketed profits and externalized costs, both social and ecological. Lumbermen took the best trees and left those that were too small to produce seeds, or if they did reproduce, didn't grow particularly well. Wildfires ripped through the cut-over stands, sterilizing the soil and killing off any grasses and shrubs that remained after the sawyers had done their work. Lumber jobs disappeared along with the white pine stands. In some spots, homesteaders tried to farm amid the stumps, but farming methods used at the time further depleted the soil, and farmers quickly abandoned their homesteads. The forests of Michigan's neighbor, Wisconsin, fared no better. That state's booming timber industry first focused on softwood trees like pine, shipping them off to communities where mills and factories turned them into doors, windowsills, and furniture. Once the best trees were cut, lumbermen returned to harvest the smaller trees. Eventually they turned to the state's hardwood, and those trees fell and were shipped to furniture makers, cabinet factories, and tanneries. After the forests were cleared and the fires came through, homesteaders attempted to turn the depleted lands into farms, but like their neighbors in Michigan, they, too, quit their doomed efforts. In New Hampshire and Maine, timber was one of the first resources that settlers exploited. The British Navy prized the tall, straight pines that grew throughout the region for ship masts and felled the best of them. Then settlers cleared the thick pine and hardwood forests for their farms. These uses obviously impacted the forests, but small-scale, family farms could only clear so many trees each year, and even the mighty British Navy's need for ship masts wasn't infinite. Things changed in the late 1800s as industrial timber companies arrived, and with them, intensive harvesting methods. In short order, once forested hills were stripped of their sylvan cover all over New England. And just like in Michigan and Wisconsin, wildfire followed, including an 84,000-acre blaze that roared through New Hampshire's White Mountains.